Alright. Now that we have talked about Azoth's bow, let's go ahead and talk about the axe next. Not sure if I ever did an axe training room tutorial back in the day, but we're going to do one right now. Part of the reason why I love the axe is because it has these just glorious hitboxes. It's got amazing coverage. It probably has some of the best all-around attack coverage in the game as far as to where it is able to damage opponents in all situations, whether you're in the air, whether you're on the ground. Like, the axe basically has an answer for every situation. It's a little bit slower than sword, it has a little bit less reach than spear in some cases, but it's just so versatile. It's probably one of the best spiking weapons in the game for getting gimps, in my opinion, just because of the way that the speed in it is balanced compared to how people like to recover. But let's go ahead and go through the moves one at a time, and we'll talk about everything that's happening with the axe, and we'll start with the neutral. So the first thing that I want to point out with the neutral is, and I know we're working on hurt boxes this patch, and this might be wrong, but I want to just turn this on. The neutral has really good priority. Like, if you look at the hurt box of Azoth right now, and you look where the hitboxes are on the axe neutral, it's ginormous. It pretty much will protect you from anything that's coming at you from the front, including dive kicks, guitar dives, people who are coming in with sidelights from the air. Axe neutral is just a fantastic attack. It does, as I find like a drop case, it does really good damage, you know, for a neutral. It's about 20 points, which is more than a sidelight. Not quite as much as some of the other neutrals in the game, but because of the sheer priority, you can land this super easy. I think in one of my older videos I may have done this, and I'm pretty sure that we nerfed the damage on this, because at one point it was like 26 or something crazy, but we lowered the damage and left the priority because this move just, like, it will just pull people out of everything, which is freaking awesome. Yeah, so you want to use this like against people who like to dive kick, against guitar players who like to do like the guitar down air against you and other things. You can use this against players who just like coming at you from the front, and you don't really have to worry about it. Alright, so the next one is the downlight. This one is really fun because it's probably my favorite anti-air in the game, because as you can see, it actually covers the whole range of approach over where you're standing. So people who like to come in from directly above is really popular in the meta right now, and people who like to cross you up. This move will catch them out of the air as they're trying to do that unless they dodge through it, which is part of the reason why a lot of players don't like playing against axe, because this completely ruins their approach option. So if you know somebody's coming in for this, you can hit them with this. Now, it does hit people stacked, but only if you're, like, in front of them. If they're slightly behind you, it's going to miss. So, like, it'll hit in this position, but if they're directly on top of you, you know, sometimes it's going to miss if they're just a little behind. But with the way that this picks people out of the air, and it sends them skyward for juggles and follow-ups and whatnot, like, downlight is an amazing tool. And because of how quickly it starts up, it's got all of this... you can actually use it as a dodging tool, kind of the way that people use guitars, the guitar side, and some other attacks. Like, you can just dodge in and hit them with this, and it ends up being a pretty good approach tool because it's a little bit faster than this because of the way that it takes the amount of time for those hitboxes to get there. You know, like, you hit in front of you towards the end of this move, whereas the downlight hits at the very beginning of it. So, like, if you're dodging in, you need to hit somebody, and you're going to be right on top of them. This move is actually a really good way to do that. The other thing that I like about it is that usually when somebody gets hit by this, their first instinct is going to be to dodge. So if you know, come in and you're expecting that dodge, you can normally hit them with a signature right afterwards, or, you know, depending on what their health is, you can just churn and hit them with another downlight and get this thing going. But people like to panic dodge a lot after they've been hit by this move. So just be aware that that's going to happen, and, you know, choose your signatures accordingly, and have some fun with it. It even hits people who are standing on platforms. I freaking love this move, man. If I would have more moves in the game like this, if I could. because I think it's just awesome. Super fun. That's part of why I'm going to be playing a lot of Azoth. Let's see. Get out of here, Orion. Alright, there we go. Alright, so we did that. We did the neutrals. So let's talk about Sidelight. Sidelight is really good because it kind of moves you forward. It's got, you know, let's say we start here on the Azoth and we've got the Sidelight attack. We can see it moves like the whole character distance. So it feels like this really aggressive move. It comes out really fast, and it's your string starter. So it does true combo into Downlight at early levels of health. And you can follow it up with Sidelight. A lot of times, you know, you can catch people off guard if they're not ready to dodge immediately. But because Sidelight pops them up, you know, again, it's that other scenario where people are typically going to dodge after getting hit by a Sidelight. So be ready for that, and, you know, if you think they're going to back dodge, then, you know, forward dodge and hit them afterwards. If you think they're gonna dodge in front of you, you know, turn and hit them with a signature. But after a Sidelight, you know, people either have to dodge or they have to eat up your follow-up. So kind of, you know, if people are always dodging out of your follow-ups, then, you know, halfway into the game when you've got a stock left or 2 stocks left and it's been a while and he's starting to dodge out of all of your Sidelights, get ready for that dodge so you can respond appropriately and hit him with something after that dodge is over. But yeah, that's part of why Sidelight is such a great tool, because it's going to force people to dodge. And anytime you can force somebody to dodge or force them to take damage, that's when you're in a really good position in Brawlhalla to get some sick reads and all the rest of the goodness. Alright, so let's see what's next. We covered all the ground moves. Let's talk about air moves. So down air is probably the axe-defining attack. And the reason for this, and I'm going to talk about this even though I think it's broken, the reason for this is because it's an amazing approach tool. So part of why it's so good, if I come in at this angle and I'm a whole character distance away from you, it's going to hit. If I come in behind you at that distance, it's going to hit. If I come in directly above you, it's going to hit. Now, one of the things that's interesting about this is that you will actually get variable damage and force depending on when you hit somebody in the move. So if you hit them with the first hitbox, you're going to get 20 points of damage. If you hit them with the last hitbox only, you're going to get less damage. I think there was one in here where we had like 11 points because we just barely nicked it. Yeah. So you will actually get variable amounts of damage depending on when this hits, and I believe that the force is variable as well. But none of that really matters because Downlight is such a freaking amazing approach tool that it is super, super awesome, and like, I think it's broken. I've been arguing in the balance meetings and the team discussions that I think that being able to air approach like this is super broken. Sword down air has the same kind of problem where it's like, you know what, you don't have to aim, you just toss this out there anywhere in the vicinity and it's going to hit. So it used to be much more spammable. As you can see, you can only really get like one of these. It used to be you could hit it and then like hit it again and again, and, you know, all sorts of spammy goodness. But if you miss an attack, you know, it's going to be a while before you can get another one out. So there is a big cooldown on hit, cooldown on miss factor. So if you miss this, you're not going to be able to follow up right away, and you can get punished. So while this move is really good as an approach, if somebody sees it coming, it's kind of like, you know, you can do just about anything you want to them. If you're on axe, you can do this like pretty easy. You just spot dodge and hit this button, and they're going to get hit. So it is punishable, but it's just also just a stupidly good approach tool. If you're the kind of person who likes to play in the air, you can get from double jump height, and this is the thing that I think is crazy broken. You can get to double jump height like this, and falling down air onto somebody, and basically punish any grounded attack. So if somebody likes to spam signatures, and you're playing on axe, you can basically stay out of signature range up here, and just fall and down air everything. So, you know, people who love to spam signatures, guess what? Past this jump height, they will not hit you. So just, you know, hang around up here, bait out those signatures, and then fall and do this. You can get to gold easy just by by incorporating this into your gameplay. Until, you know, this video becomes outdated, and hopefully we have some better solution for that in the game. Alright, so, with that being said, let's look at the side air. Side air is great because it's got really good range. It also has good speed. One of the things that I've noticed with side air is that it's one of the only attacks that can really contest gun side light or gun side air spam. I shouldn't say spam. Gun side air over reliance, we'll say. Let's get this guy to jump. Partially because of how quickly it comes out. And the reach that it gets, so it's not quite as fast as some other attacks, but the big hitbox is what's happening first, so the bigger portion of the reach gets there first, as opposed to a lot of other side lights where the longer range area of the hitbox is getting there last, which is part of why this actually will beat out a huge number of other side lights, you know, especially if you're kind of stuck in a side air battle with somebody. This move is really good. It's also a great kill move at lower levels of health, so you keep that in mind. And yeah. Alright, so let's talk about air neutral next. Air neutral is really good because you can see kind of like the bow air neutral. It's got a really good amount of priority. The only thing that it doesn't really have is speed. So if somebody's above you, you're going to be able to hit them, but because it's a little bit slower, you can get hit out of this. It is really good for juggle games because a lot of people are going to expect you to recover them, but you want to be able to do this as well. You know, you can basically just elevator someone in the sky with this move. And it's got just a great amount of priority. It also does more damage than the side light. It does a little bit more damage than the down air, but you kind of want to like use the two in conjunction with one another. Let's see, so then ground pound and recovery. So while these moves look really cool, they are pretty hard to use. The thing that's interesting about ground pound is that it kind of sticks you into the air wherever you start the move. So if you're really low to the ground, it's gonna move you downward. But if you jump up and you start it, like you can see the hitboxes kind of stay well within the same area. So you know, if I start it way up here, it's not even gonna hit Orion because it doesn't travel as far as other ground pounds do. I say as like I completely hit Orion there. This move's pretty situational. It's really easy to get hit out of, but because it's a little ambiguous, it also can catch a lot of people off guard. Again, when I'm doing these training videos, it's really easy to land anything on a bot that's just doing the same thing over and over again. Just know that this move is kind of weird. Now, because we don't have the tech that completely stops moves when you hit the ground, the way that this works is that it will start to auto-activate if you get too close to the ground and do a good chunk of the move depending on how you land. If you let go of the button early, before you hit the ground, you'll get some more of those hitboxes, and you can end up getting like a lot of ambiguous stuff off of this, depending on how you use it. So just mess around with this, see how it goes. Try to mix it in there to catch people off guard. The thing that's interesting about it as an edge guard tool, again, is like you can use it to kind of cover this recovery space, as opposed to, you know, your traditional ground pounds where if you hold down, you're going to travel. If you do it just without holding down, you're going to stay closer to one area. So you can kind of use that to cover this, you know, jump back area as well. Let's see, and then recovery. So recovery is a really good portion of the juggle game. It's not quite as easy to land as a lot of other moves because it's slow startup time. It also has less priority than a lot of other moves because you can see the axe kind of whirls around and you don't have hitbox coverage throughout. So you want to use this when you're fishing for those big air knockouts. Just know that it doesn't have as much priority as some of the other attacks in the game that are recoveries. So yeah, let's change this guy back to something where he's not jumping. Yeah, so general axe game plan. Some of the niftier things you can do. Let's turn off hitboxes real quick so we can see what the heck's going on. So some of the niftier things you can do that at least I like doing. You can downlight into all sorts of random follow-ups. So if you air if you down air, excuse me, if you down air, like you can down air into signatures, you can down air into a down light, you can down air into a side light, all kind of depending on where they pop up. So, as I miss like every down light possible. But the main thing is you don't want to be doing this over and over where you just come in from the air and you're just down airing over and over again. You kind of want to mix it up afterwards. So, you know, you can follow up with all sorts of attacks after you get that pop-up, depending on what health level they're at. Stand still, bot. You know, so like 2 down airs in a row doesn't work anymore. But at certain health levels, like down air into neutral is going to work. Down air into down light works pretty well. Down air into a signature often works. There's all sorts of stuff that you can do after your approaches on Axe. And really that's kind of like the big emphasis on like weapon mastery and game mastery versus just like, oh, I'm good at this character because I can hit his signatures. Is really being able to... yeah, we can give him that. Is really being able to think about your options after you land a single hit, and that you're not just always following up with the same action afterwards, but you're kind of thinking about your other choices as Orion sends me skyrocketing into the air. Yeah, so like right there is a common axe string. You know, down light into neutral into recovery. All that kind of stuff. So yeah, just think about, you know, mixing up what you do after an approach. There's all sorts of fun things you can do off of these long stun attacks where it doesn't always have to be the true combo string. If you really want to, you know, catch people off guard, there's all sorts of other things that you can do afterwards. And there we get to see a bit of the spike potential. So anyway, yeah, that's the Axe walkthrough.